So, we got some news. The Mythic Keystone system will carry forward changes from Dragonflight Season 4 with updates to the position of affixes in the system and updated affix buckets. With updates to the position of affixes, okay. The Mythic Plus system will have rewards up to level 10, with plus 2 starting from what would have been a plus 11 in the previous Data Plus system. Rewards up to level 10, with plus 2 starting from 1. Yeah. A plus 5 should be as hard as a 15, and a 10 should be as hard as a 20. We intend to better align reward and difficulty increase in Mythic Plus system by updating the introduced parts of Affix in Season 1 of the War Within. So plus 2 is 45 triangle, also, yeah, sure. A new set of passive affixes. Interesting. So that means we get one active affix and one passive affix. Didn't we already have that kind of? It doesn't say positive, it says passive. Dungeon ratings should be equivalent to what they represent in the current system. And there should be a smaller range of keystone levels to find groups for, and more meaningful progression between each level. Sure, yeah. Affixes. Before we dive into the specifics of the new affixes, we would like to outline our goals and the purpose these affixes serve. Our overarching goal is to minimize the mechanical overlap between affixes and dungeon trash design in the current +4 affix bucket. We aim to achieve this through a more passive approach, focusing on the following objectives. Shift the source of challenge to the dungeon itself by simplifying affix design and emphasizing creature abilities. Reduce visual noise, nameplate clutter, and the cognitive load on players during trash combat. Okay, allow for varied and context-specific gameplay decisions, depending on the dungeon they are applied to. Shift the source of challenge to the dungeon. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I mean, that's good. Reduce visual noise. Sure. Nameplate clutter. What do we mean by nameplate clutter, though? Do they want us to pull less mobs? Is that what they're saying? Because if that's the case, then we don't like that. And the cognitive load on players during trash combat. Allow for varied and context-specific gameplay. Varied and context-specific gameplay decisions. What does that mean? Context-specific gameplay decisions. That's a lot of words. But what do they mean? Additionally, these affixes will include a positive effect. The aim of these positive effects is to highlight different damage types each week, allowing each spec additional opportunities to excel during the season. What? These effects should feel like a bonus, offering an advantage for different damage profiles each week without being essential to complete a dungeon. Players will have an opportunity to flex towards different talents, gearing options, and consumables to capitalize on these effects. New affixes. Reckless. Non-boss enemies without mana ignore 20% armor with their attacks. Okay. But their armor is reduced by 30% and they take 10% increased arcane damage. Huh? Thorn. Non-boss enemies without mana pick physical damage to their attackers when attacked, but take 10% increased holy and shadow damage. Non-boss enemies with mana inflict 10% increased magic damage, but take 10% increased nature damage and 30% increased damage from bleed effects. Focus. Non-boss enemies with mana have 30% increased haste. 30% increased haste, but take 10% increased frost and fire damage. Excuse me, what? These tooltips indicate whether the affixes apply to creature. These tooltips indicate whether the affixes apply to creatures with or without mana. These affixes will not affect every creature. Following affix will be retired. Afflicted, incorporeal, entangling, storming, volcanic. Really? What was wrong with volcanic? Or entangling for that matter. Thanks for 13 months, Panda Polo. What's up, what's up? To measure number of affixes in our level 4 affix bucket in London. The War Within, we will retire the spiteful affix for season 1 of the War Within, plus 7 affix bucket into the following. Oh no, we have these affixes. No, wait. No, they're retired. So we have these 4 and then Raging, Bolstering, Bursting, Sanguine? Oh, wait. We only have 4 affixes in our +7 affix list? It's only Raging, Bolstering, Bursting, Sanguine, that's it? That means we get Sanguine and Bolstering a lot more? And the Roof Spiteful, the only easy affix? Wait, what was the affix pool for these affixes? Did we only have 5 affixes before? From these affixes? Did we really only have Spiteful, Raging, Bolstering, Bursting, Sanguine? So wait, you're telling me that we only have 8 affixes now? We only have Reckless, Thorn, Attuned, Focus, Raging, Bolstering, Bursting, Sanguine? That's it? Like, those are the only affixes? Oh. I mean, I really don't understand these affixes. And what are they trying to achieve with this? I'm very confused. Because I read what they're trying to achieve, and that... Well, to be fair, I agree with the first point here. I don't know what the hell they mean with this one here, with these 2 points. Because I really hope that they're not going for... like this like classic playstyle where you see them up here and then you see them up there and then you pull the rest. Kind of like we had with the Gahoon seasonal affix in BFA, like the first affix, if you guys remember. Were like infested. Like, I'm not sure... like, they certainly want to change in Plus a lot. One thing that I personally wish they would understand is that people just want to pull a lot of trash. Like, people just want to pull mobs and AoE. Right? Like, I understand that a dungeon gets really boring if that's the only thing you do. If you do one big pull into another big pull into another big pull, like, I understand it gets boring and you need some variation and you have to do like smaller pulls here and there. But whenever there's dungeons where they force you to pull mobs one by one or to like smaller pulls, then people hate the dungeon because it's boring. People don't want to sit there and pull one mob at a time or pull mini bosses or whatever. We want to do bigger pulls, right? So whenever there's a dungeon that holds you back through dungeon design or through certain affix design, then people don't like it because it's fucking boring. And I really hope they're not like... I hope they don't mean that with this. Like, I hope... Because these affixes here, they're not very specific. Like... They do say they're supposed to be more passive affixes. So it's possible that they are, like, not really... Like, it's possible that they're barely noticeable. Because these affixes, it could just be a handful of mobs that have this effect, right? They want the metacom to be changed every week. No, that's not absolutely not what they want. They say that here. This actually should feel like a bonus, offering an advantage for different damage profiles each week without being essential to complete a dungeon. I mean, we don't really know much about this because it says, note that these tooltips indicate whether the affixes apply to creatures with or without mana. These affixes will not affect every creature. Wait. What was that? Okay, wait, now I'm confused. None of these... Okay, now I'm confused. Does it mean that it doesn't affect every creature in the dungeon? Or does it mean that it doesn't affect every creature with mana? Whenever they're stating that it's with mana? Well, see, this is not very clear. This could mean two things. It could mean that every mob in the dungeon that is not a boss, that doesn't have mana, has this effect. Or it could mean that some of the mobs in the dungeon that are not a boss and don't have mana can be affected. Which is, I am reading the sentence. No, it's not extremely clear. What do you mean? Yeah, but it could mean two things. Yeah, I get that. I understand it, guys. You just don't see the other thing. Like, this sentence could mean that it doesn't affect every creature without mana. Keep reading. I am reading it. Know that these tools indicate whether the affix apply to creatures with or without mana. These affixes will not affect every creature. I know. I'm reading it. I still think the same thing. Like, to me, this still means it could mean two things. Yeah, but this is not 100% clear. This could mean two things. This sentence could be related to this or not, you know? Like, it could... This could just be a clarification. Because, like, okay, so let's say... Like, read the sentence. No, that these tools indicate whether the affix apply to creatures with or without mana. This sentence alone would be sufficient. You don't need to add this sentence, right? If it means what you guys mean it means. Okay, if every single creature that is a caster without mana is affected, then you're explaining this with this sentence. This sentence is enough, right? You do not need to clarify this with this second sentence. So I'm thinking this second sentence might mean that not every creature in the dungeon without mana is affected by this affix, because that could also be the case. They've done that before, right? We've had affixes that didn't affect every single mob in a dungeon, but like some of them. That would make it a bit complicated though. Why are you saying ... Like, that's what... Did they clarify this anywhere? 100%? Just because you understand it differently. Oh, I can't understand. Did they actually clarify anywhere? No, it's not about... No. I'm not talking about bolstering. I'm talking about these affixes here. No. I'm not saying that bolstering doesn't affect all mobs. Of course, bolstering affects all mobs. They specifically are talking about these affixes here, these four. No. Not only their background monsters won't be affected by this. And okay, guys, I am reading it. I'm just saying that I could interpret it in a different way if I wanted to. I'm not saying that it is that way. I'm saying there's a possibility that it is that way. But we'll see when they test it. This weekend. Like, the reason why... Like... The reason why I think there might be a possibility that it's not every mob... Well, it would be a little bit confusing if it wasn't like every caster, because... I mean, they could indicate it with an animation, I guess. Like, they could make the mobs like glow or some bullshit. But it would be much clearer if it's just all casters or all melees, right? Because otherwise it would be kind of confusing for people if it's only some of them. But then at the same time, how could you possibly give every caster 30% increased haste? Like, I'm sorry, what? There's a possibility you're overthinking this? No, I'm just saying there's two possibilities. That's all I'm saying. I'm not overthinking anything. Yeah. It doesn't matter. We'll see in 2 days. Calm down, everyone. Yeah, that to me would make more sense logically, Armadetrix. Not from like a not from the way the sentences are written, but from like from a design perspective. To me, it would make more sense if not all of these mobs are affected because of what they're saying the affix is for. Because they're specifically saying they want the affixes to be passive affixes that don't do much, right? And they're saying they want the classes that do this type of damage to be an advantage and not a necessity. But if every single trash mob, or like, you know, all non-caster trash mobs or all melee trash mobs would have one of these affixes, that would be a lot more than a passive affix. And it would also make the classes a lot more essential than what they're describing it to be. So if only some of the mobs would be affected, that would make more sense from what their goal seems to be. But, you know, we'll see. Because if every caster has 30% more haste, that's crazy. Also, like, the extra damage is crazy too. Like 10% more magic school damage of a certain school is quite a lot. Also, what the fuck does Demon Hunter do? Just 10% more damage every week? Oh my god, wait, that makes Vengeance Demon Hunter so strong. Are they just, what the fuck are they gonna do with the Vengeance Demon Hunters? Oh my god. Wait, how much, wait, or does Vengeance not do a lot of chaos damage? Vengeance Demon is mostly fire? Okay, well then it will be fine. But how much damage of Havoc is chaos? Because that would be kind of crazy. Melee mobs ignore 20% armor of a tank? Like, that's a really shitty affix for tanks. Like, why would they do that? Why make mobs ignore armor? Or like, why? Like, that means that 1 week tanks just take a lot more damage than other weeks. Hi, Moosh. Also, this is incredibly problematic here. Non-boss enemies without mana inflicts physical damage to their attackers when attacked. This ability never works properly, yeah? I hope they know that. I hope Blizzard is aware of the fact that they never once managed to create a thorned mob that actually works. Because there's a lot of mechanics that count as individual hits when they should not. Like, for example, if you're a balloon for Moonkins, each tick of Fury Balloon counts as an attack. So when this affix goes live like this, and they don't change, and they don't fix all of the spells, that means that Moonkin would kill themselves instantly. Especially with the new affix tree that we have, the new hero talents that we have. We have a lot of Fury Balloons going on simultaneously, and each individual tick of each Fury Balloon counts as a damage, as a physical, as an attack. So a Moonkin would just die instantly. Bladestorm. Yeah, there's a bunch of mechanics or a bunch of abilities that don't work properly. I mean, Frozen Orb, yeah. Yeah, so either they fix this to... And that would be a lot of work for them, right? Because they would actually have to fix every single ability that counts as an extra attack. Or the alternative would be that it does very little damage. And then they also have 10% increased holy damage. Who does holy damage? Isn't it only Red Paladin? No one else has holy damage, right? From the damage dealers. Yeah, but I'm talking about damage dealers. It's really only Red Paladin. Warlock does holy damage? I don't think... Well, with chaos damage, but that's not really... Yeah, why do they give it a holy damage increase? That's kind of weird. Well, these damage schools are kind of awkward anyway. I guess we have shadow damage though, because shadow is like a lot. So who does arcane damage? Is arcane mages, moonkins, elemental shamans? Then shadow holy is like priest, warlock. That's it, I guess. And then nature's Moonkin, Elemental Shaman. Well, I guess there's also melee that do certain damage, like Holy is Red Paladin as well. Arcane is enhancement does Arcane, I guess? Or do they only do nature? It's only nature. Then who does Arcane? Only Moonkin and Arcane Mage? Oh yeah, Hunter a little bit. Yeah. I mean, I don't really... I mean, I think this is dumb. Even... Okay, so even if not a lot of the mobs are affected, like even if it's some mobs rather than all, even then this would be dumb, I think. I just don't understand the purpose of this. They're trying to force different comps, but why? With this approach? Really? I can't even. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how they want to fix the whole... Yeah, I don't know. This is weird. Also, like, this is kind of a meme. They said players will have an opportunity to flex towards different talents, gearing options, and consumables to capitalize on these effects. Like, what kind of gearing options? And consumables are we talking about here? Oh, I forgot. I'm just gonna use my gear that makes me do more fire damage. Like, what? No, you don't have to feel bad for physical damage classes, because look at this. Their armor is reduced by 30%. There you go. Melees are just gonna be fine this week. Also, a lot of melee classes don't do only... A lot of melee classes do magic damage as their main damage source, rather than physical damage. Like, Demon Hunters do chaos damage, fire damage, then Enhanced Shamans do nature damage. Even rogues do like poison damage as well, which is that... What is rogue damage considered? Nature? Yeah, so rogues can do nature damage too, yeah. And bleeds, and shadow, true, shadow damage as well. Demon Hunter does chaos damage, they do all damage. Well, all magic damage. Well, I do think this gives an opportunity to multi DPS classes to switch around from week to week. But again, it depends how much impact this has, how many mobs really have these effects. Because if you're like, let's say you're a rogue, then you can switch between like a bleed spec and like physical damage spec, and you know, like you can switch around quite a lot and benefit from these different effects. Because a rogue can benefit well from this one, and this one, right? Because they have bleeds, they have shadow damage. This bleed and nature damage one is really good for them, because they can do nature damage and bleed effects, right? And it's 30% increased damage from bleed effects. Why is it 30%? That's so much. 30% increased damage, that's insane. I mean, this increased magic damage increase is not that bad compared to this haste one. Like, 20% increased magic damage is not that bad considering, well, I'm saying it's not that bad for high keys, because on high keys you interrupt things anyway, otherwise you die, right? Like, it doesn't matter if it does 20% increased damage if it already kills you without the 20% increased damage, right? So I do think that this one is not that bad in comparison to this one. Because a 30% increased haste means that you certainly cannot interrupt them all. And then there's a lot more casts going through, which is going to be a lot worse than having 20% increased damage when a cast does come through. The changes on Tyrannical in 45? Oh, I didn't even see that. We're still experimenting with those... Wait, Tyrannical in 45. We're still experimenting with those with how these affixes fit in with our updates. We believe these changes will offer a refreshing experience for players at all levels each season and redefine how the Mythic Plus affix system influences dungeon gameplay. We look forward to your feedback and discussion on these. Okay. Yeah, I'm just not sure I understand, because like I feel like this is a little bit like contradicting almost. Because it says here a new set of passive affixes, and passive to me means that it's, well, as it says, passive. But this doesn't really sound very passive to me. Depending on how many mobs there are affected. One thing, yeah, I don't know, because technically if they would remove Fortified and Tyrannical, then I can see this actually being somewhat maybe manageable. Because right now the purpose of Tyrannical and Fortified is to change the dungeons a lot every week to not make them boring, which I think does work really well. I think Fortified and Tyrannical are doing its job pretty well at the moment. So you don't need these affixes to change the dungeons much more than what Fortified and Tyrannical is already changing them, right? So I think if they would remove Fortified and Tyrannical and instead make these affixes more defining and also force it to change comp more, then that would be like an interesting approach that maybe works. But then at the same time, I just think it feels really bad. Sorry. I just think it feels bad if you want to play one class and then your class is really good one week and then it's really shit the next. Like, this is especially bad for hybrid classes that only have one spec, right? What are you gonna do if you're a Shadow Priest? I don't think Shadow Priests are gonna have any issues whatsoever because they're broken as fuck, but they only have one thing they can do. They can't just try and do arcane damage or do bleed damage or do frostfire. Like, if you're a mage or a rogue or like someone that has multiple specs, then you might have the opportunity to change around things a bit and play different stuff. But Shadow Priest can't really do much, right? The problem with seasonal affixes is that it doesn't actually make the dungeon, like, it doesn't help with the boring thing at all. Like, a seasonal affix does not change the dungeon from week to week. And that's what the purpose of Tyrannical and Fortified is. A seasonal affix does not do that because it is the same every week. Yeah, we should of course delete Augevokers. I do agree on that one.